In the biogeographical regions today, we will be discussing about the old world tropics, and in there we will be discussing about India. We have discussed about Africa, and we have also discussed that the Africa, India, Madagascar, Antarctica, Australia, these were part of the Gondwana at first, but these all of these parts gradually these were separated and in the southern part of the planet, and India was one of those parts. After its separation from the Madagascar, India was isolated from direct contact with other land masses during its long journey northward to collide with South Asia that probably took place less than 35 million years ago. So, less than 35 million years ago, the India, which was journeying from the Africa towards the Asia, and it collided with the Asia. And guess what? There were the mountains from which we know today as the Himalayan mountains. So Ali and Aitchison believed that oceanic islands and now submerged oceanic plateau could have provided stepping stones for organisms to disperse between it and other parts of East Gondwana in the late Cretaceous and early Paleocene. So the East Gondwana was, the India is getting away from it, but the Ali and Aitchison are arguing that there might be some oceanic plateau, or there are some islands which are acting as a stepping stone. Stepping stone means that if there is a mud, you would place some stones in there and you would walk on those stones. So just like that, the species are migrating from the mainland Gondwana to the island first, island second, island third, and so on until they reach to the trail of those island reaches to the India. And this was happening during the late Cretaceous and early Paleocene. So there were once islands on the 5,000 kilometer long 90 East Ridge, so named it approximately parallels that longitude today, right? So why do we call that as 90 East Ridge? Because it is parallel to the 90 East longitude. So, and it is now eroded away in the Paleocene to the late Oligocene. So these might be one of those islands that the Ali and Aitchison are arguing. Those were having the connection with the not only the Gondwana but also the India. So the mammal fauna of the India in Cretaceous and Paleocene is unknown, but it must have been quickly colonized by the placental animals of Asia after its collision with the continent. So once it separated from Africa, it was having some collection of species on it, which was the flora and fauna, plants and animals. But we don't know that what those animals were. As it gradually strided towards the Tibet and it collided with the southern Asia, there were some placental animals. They were quick, they found their niches over there, they quickly migrated towards the area of India, and then they flourished there. So after about 3 million years ago, an increase in aridity related to the uplift of Himalayan mountain to new heights led to the northern part of the Indian subcontinent becoming drier, and also led to an increase in the number of grazing mammals such as horses, antelope, camels, and of elephant. So all of these animals, these were, first of all, there were so many organisms based on the niches, but due to the increased aridity of the land, because the Himalayan mountains were forming, so weather change, climate change, and due to that these particular organisms were much more able to flourish in that area, including the horses, antelopes, camels, and the elephants. So all of those organisms, they were living in India. Now they had an opportunity to go beyond India, right? So they were moving towards the far east as well. So a complex pattern of islands lies on the continent shelves of Southeast Asia, which is called the Sunda Shelf, and that of New Guinea and Australia, which is called Sahul Shelf. And these have been colonized from both these areas. So the India, that the organisms that were present in India might have colonized these two shelves, as well as we can see in the later slide. So here you can see the map of East Indies. The mainland Southeast Asia, which includes the Sunda continent shelf, which include the mainland Southeast Asia, Sumatra, Java, and Borneo, and Philippines. Is the archipelago near it, and then there is the Sahul continental shelf, which is containing New Guinea and Australia, and they are having sort of different biota. And you can see the Wallace line separating the Australian and Asian fauna, which was in 1863, and now the newer division that we discussed earlier topics, the Weber's line, boundary of faunal balance, Asian, Australian animals, 50-50 for mammals and mollusks. So Lydekker line, which is further towards east, it is the western boundary of the strictly Australian fauna. So you can see the three lines in this region, which is Wallace line, Weber's line, and the Lydekker's line. And you can see that how all of these are part of the same continental shelf, and therefore maybe there are some shallow seas and opportunity of organisms to move on the same shelf. So Sunda continental shelf, it contains the same biodiversity as and the New Guinea and Australia, there might be some shallow seas, and organisms can move across those seas during different periods. So New Guinea and Australian biodiversity, or the organisms, these are quite connected with each other, and they have the same biodiversity. So this is how we can see that how the organisms are moving from all the way from Africa to the India, and then spreading towards the Southeast Asia.